Hello, everyone. Oh, nice animation. I made the promise to Glenn, my friend, who saw me with a mic, that I would sing Get Me Baby one more time, but I will not. So yeah, I did it, Glenn. First of all, thank you, everyone, for being here. I know this is being streamed, so for the people both here and on streaming, just some few informations that we all start from the same ground. For the people who cannot see me, I am a white Caucasian woman with salt and pepper hair. I'm wearing all blue today. If you cannot hear me and you're reading me, I also happen to have a strong Spanish accent. So hopefully subtitles will be good, and I will not say something very, very stupid. My slides, do I go here? Yeah. No, here? OK. So my slides are all purple. If you cannot see them, I will not have anything written on them, but I will not say out loud. So I will spell it everything out. And it's purple with white typeface using Mona Sans, which is an open source typography that we designed at GitHub, and you can use if you want. With that, hello again. I'm Glòria. I am currently Senior Design Director at GitHub, and I've been in the industry. As that made it sound cool, but it means I'm old, basically. I've been more than 20 years in the industry, working a lot of different companies with different principles, values. I think I see here some familiar faces of folks that work with me. Early social networks in 2000s, we did maybe not the best stuff that we could back then. Now looking at it with some perspective. And some years ago, I decided that if I had the privilege that I could somehow choose where I wanted to work or what I wanted to do, I wanted to have basic principles for myself, like what do you want to do next? And I recommend everyone doing so. For me, I decided I wanted to work in a company that were developing a product that I could use, that I was a user of, so very selfishly, something I can dog food. Or a product that had a social impact, that was doing some good to the world, to the communities, that maybe I belonged or maybe I didn't belong to those communities, but that they were having some social impact, and that they had a strong design game. The first two, if you look at it more from logical operators, are ORs, but the third one was an AND, definitely. That's what I wanted to be. That led me to Sketch some years ago, where I met Madet. And essentially, it was a product I was a user of. It was 2018. I was a hardcore user of it. It was a product that was doing a very good job in the communities, especially the design communities, I would say, with the open source file format, a big plugins community, and they were essentially helping diversify how we were designing, right? Like the monopoly of the one tool, I won't name names, started opening up thanks to the open source file format, and how other tools started building on top of it, and they essentially opened up both the market and the industry. So today I was building Sketch while using Sketch, which felt amazing. I guess folks here from Penpot feel similarly. It's like being in Mark Jacobs' world, everything is like me. But fast forward 3 years, I saw a post from Diana Mounter, who's the former head of design at GitHub, who recently left. Hi, Diana, thanks for the opportunity. She was looking for a design director for the communities team, which was the former open source team at GitHub, and they were in charge of education, sponsors, open source program office. And when I read that, it was like, this is my thing. It's right up my alley. I have to apply. So I just went for it. They, of course, had huge social impact, and the design game cannot be stronger, like one of the strongest design teams I've ever worked with. So here I am again, building GitHub, using GitHub. And I guess that's my thing, like dog fooding. And when I say using GitHub, I mean it. We don't only use it for development. We use it for absolutely everything. Anecdotally, our Slack history is deleted periodically, not because we are on a free tier, just because we chose to. So every decision you make needs to be documented. So every big conversation you have, you need to document. And this happens, of course, in our platform. Through discussion, MD files, PRs, projects, issue, you name it, we use everything. We also use it to use fast prototypes with Spark, our AI tool. We use Spaces to create knowledge bases. We use discussion posts to document decision logs, for example. We even use it to do our entitlements, software entitlements. We do it through GitHub as well. And of course, we love automating things. So automate all the things with actions. So basically, you name it. We would cook with it if we could, right? So our dogfooding game is super strong. That led our first engineers to have like the GitHub Enterprise with a GitHub org, with a GitHub repo on github.com. Beat that, Mark. That's, I think we won here. So of course, the team, when they started, it was rather small, especially the design team. I'm told it was very technical because I wasn't there. And they were, of course, shipping PRs and like working very closely to developers. The product, of course, grew faster than the team, as it tends to happen, and there was only so much they could look at. This means that the product grew organically, started growing arms and legs, and there were some areas that maybe didn't have all the love they deserve design-wise. So yes, I admit we do have design debt, and like all of you here, if somebody doesn't have design debt, can raise your hand, but you're a liar. So we all have it. So the question is, in a very technical environment where things move super fast these days, right? Where we are defining how software development should be while doing software development, so like this situation, we have decisions that were made 10 years ago and some debt. How do we make sure we can collaborate effectively, like to deliver the daily things, while leaving room for innovation and creating new space, right? And thinking of what's the next thing we want to be working on. As most of you know, collaboration and innovation cannot be set top-down. It's like trying to have a mandatory fun offsite. Not going to work. Like, you cannot ask people to have fun. What we need to do, though, is to design the conditions for collaboration, trust, and shared ownership, right? We need to design safe, fast-paced environments where innovation can thrive. And I would like to share 6 nuggets that worked for me, at least. Maybe they work for you in the future. I don't know. Let me know. But I would like to share with you what worked in my case. The first nugget, or the first thing that, to me, it's basic to set this environment where innovation can happen, is working in the open. Of course, it's very obvious probably in this crowd. The open source community set the foundations of a very good way of collaborating together, right? And while GitHub is not an open source company, we do work following the open source principles. So we are effectively doing inner sourcing, right? We are a private company working through open source principles. And the way we do this, like I think it was Medet who mentioned transparency, right? This is key in our case. So we share everything, like from the tiniest thing to the biggest thing, and we don't really care about what the stage is of the feature or the idea you had. We do this by recording demos, coding prototypes, quick mock, a write-up, like anyone can come up with an idea, and we do this in the open so that others can pile up on our ideas. We don't do this only internally. We also work a lot with our communities, with our customers, GitHub stars. We do have discussion posts. Of course, we have a ton of feature flags. Like, I've never seen this amount of feature flags in my life. Sometimes I look at the UI and I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, is this, I don't know, like it's just too much. So whenever a feature flag is ready to be shared with customers, we just flip it for a certain group and just talk to them and work with them, right? Which I believe is very similar to Penpot in this case. To mention a couple of recent examples, the new sign-up flow of GitHub was triggered by a community discussion in the accessibility category. Someone was telling us about how the motion we had in our sign-up flow was creating like motion sickness to some users and was dangerous for certain people, and how it wasn't accessible. This led us to do a series of tests and sessions with our inclusive research panel. If you don't have one, try to create like a small one. That's a recommendation. We do have a very diverse panel of people that we can test things with. And in this case, we went with a visually impaired user who tried to create an account in front of the entire design team. Not in front of course, it was Zoom, right? We were not all there. But this was like mind-blowing. Like seeing how a visually impaired person was creating an account, trying to create an account, because it was really embarrassing. This led to this project which successfully launched, and we have a very accessible with sign-up flow with motion and like very engaging on brand. And you can see like we got very positive feedback out of it. Another example is the dashboard, the new dashboard that will be released soon. Here's a small spoiler, by the way. I cannot show it to you, all of it, because it's not released yet. I think it will be released in the following weeks, maybe in Universe. But we've been working along with the community, shipping in main directly, fixing it on main with our users. We opened it to 5% of them, and we are getting very nice feedback that helps us shape the direction we are going. And we get like very interesting feedback sometimes. No shade to anyone. I absolutely adore this feedback. Alternative text to the image is a user telling us, bro, this is wild for real, and the salute emoji. So, and let's be clear, sometimes our first ideas suck. Our feature, what we put out there is not good. And our users will let us know, and that's perfectly fine. We will just put it under a feature flag or a drawer or whatever. We'll just kill it. Like, it's fine. Paraphrasing at Catmull, which is the Pixar guy, this is a super long sentence, please don't read it. TLDR, he said, everything sucks at the beginning, and we just need to brace candid feedback and iterative processes. I cannot agree more with this stance at how we design things. The second nugget is design systems. This might also be an obvious one, but I've seen a lot of people saying design systems slow down innovation because you only have a small set of pieces that you can play with, right? Like, it's like a Lego, and I cannot innovate with these pieces. I cannot disagree more. Like, that's completely false. Let's remember, innovation and ideas don't come from the genius spark of one person. They are part of a discussion, a conversation, with people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different skill sets, and it's part of this conversation that sparks these ideas and this innovation. In order to have a conversation around an idea, you need to talk the same language. You need to speak the same standards. And ideas are fragile, right? They can get lost in translation, watered down in handoff, and sometimes they are very hard to visualize, or they simply, maybe they are ugly, right? Sometimes someone presents you with something, and just because it doesn't look good, you're like, this is not worth exploring or worth pursuing. Design systems give us this shared language, these words that are the same for everyone, and allows us to have a conversation in the same level. And this is what sparks innovation, right? Our design system is open source. I just have it here, primer.style. If you want to check it out, it's pretty cool. You can also give us feedback for real, bro. Let us know what you think. The third nugget is getting closer to the metal. And let me clarify here, I don't mean now to start the debate, should designers code? Like, I don't want to go there yet again. The only thing I'm saying is we are in the era of computational design, and the times where designers were handing over a static mockup file to an engineer and forgetting were long gone many, many, many years ago. Like, that's no longer a thing. Design now happens much closer to the metal, right? And with designing with AI cannot be even like more real, right? When you're designing with or for AI, you not only need to know that there is a model running in the background, you also need to know what's the latency, the token streaming, retries, context limits, how much does it cost, right? These details are not engineering lingo. This is not nerd things designers should not know. These details are the ones that make a design feel natural, that feel responsive. Do we need to design graceful fallbacks, or we need maybe to stage interactions? Like, how do we present this to the user so that it feels smooth and natural? And how do we walk around both restrictions, constraints, and possibilities, right? So the fact that a designer can prototype closer to the metal or can ask the right questions closer to the metal is what makes us to get to the ideas more sharp, right? Like, you get sharper ideas there. The fourth point might be a bit spicy, bridging roles. I also think there was an era in which we were all relying on our LinkedIn profile and what it said. I'm a product designer. That's my area. That's what I do. UPM cannot come in my Figma file or my Penpot file or my Sketch file. Like, you are not allowed. That's danger zone, right? Like the meme with the rat, like, don't look at my garbage kind of thing. So I think this needs to stop for the, for the good, please, because the more you get closer to production, closer to code, the lines start to blur. And you start seeing, Paula was sharing data earlier, no? You start seeing how we end up in each other's tools. You see engineers in Penpot, you see designers on VS Code, like, lines are starting to mix up, and that doesn't mean, again, that you need to learn how to code. But we are seeing as well tools like GitHub Spark that I was mentioning earlier, and other competitors that are out there, which allow non-technical folks to come up with ideas super fast, which are super close to the metal, right? Close to the code, using real models, using real responses. So I would say like the ideas stage is getting wider and wider and wider and wider and more accessible. We also need to stop pretending that each of us has the same skill set, right? Like I can be a product designer, you can be a product designer, and we can do completely different things. We also know that you're here. I thought we could agree that we stop calling full stack developers to the backends. Maybe they can be backends who know how to do a couple more things, please. It's a proposal. I'm just leaving it here. But I digress, sorry. So I think the real magic happens when we all meet in the middle, right? Designers who can ship PRs with initial implementations, engineers who care to go the extra mile and fix that UI polish. And this is when the friction disappears, that collaboration actually becomes fluid. In our case, it was design engineers who sealed the deal because they brought design intent from design tool to production. And this allowed us to change a bit the way we talk about designing, right? It allowed us to stop talking about us versus them and being more like us versus the opportunity, rather, right? So this is a profile that we value a lot at GitHub, for example, and we keep introducing more and more. On screen is my two daughters, I guess, bridging the gap and mixing their very, very different skill sets and very different profiles, trying to reach for the upper shelf of the fridge where the good food was because veggies are at the bottom. So I thought it was a very good image to talk about bridging the skill sets. The fifth one is developing a shared sense of taste, which might be a bit unusual to talk about this, right? I think while natural taste exists, or I really like the sentence, Montesquieu wrote in the encyclopedia that natural taste is the quick and exquisite application of rules that no one never knows. So it's like perfection, right? I think people assume that taste cannot be learned, that there is no way that I can have taste. That is something you either have it or not. But that's not true at all. Good news is taste can be trained, and it evolves with practice. Actually, taste is inherent to Homo sapiens, to wise people. Agamben wrote that sapiens, wise man, is derived from sapor, taste. And just as taste discerns flavors, wisdom discerns things and their causes. So there's no excuse. Taste is not only for designers to have. Engineers, product managers, QA, like everyone can develop taste. And you can think, like, how do you do this? You can participate in these discussions, seeing how a small detail changes the whole experience sometimes, and working with patterns and systems to understand the craft better and why they matter. Over time, we will develop as a team a shared sense of taste, and we will stop arguing about personal preferences. No, but I like, I think, no. There is a shared understanding of taste, and then we can focus on what matters, which is the idea that we are discussing, right? Similarly, the last point is the shared sense of quality. And bear with me, I'm going to use a controversial example here that I know is a bad example, but I like it. So I will still use it. Back in 1982, social scientists James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelling published this article on The Atlantic that was talking about the broken windows theory. They were saying if there is a broken window in a building that gets unfixed and repaired, it sends the signal that nobody cares. Soon other windows will start breaking, people will start graffitiing the walls, vandalism, crime, like it will be like the worst neighborhood in the world. Well, While I know the research could not be proved, because these two dudes, they only wanted to over-police poor people in marginalized neighborhoods. So this is trash, this research. But there's something of this idea of the broken window that really captivates me. This image of this building that has one broken window, then another one, and how it degrades. And I think there is something interesting here. I was thinking, what would be a better analogy for this, right? And I realized, what if you go to this very pristine place where everything's clean, everything is in its own place, like nothing is left, everything's perfect. And you are walking and a small piece of paper falls on the floor. Your first reaction, you will not even think of it. You will just bend and pick it up. You will, no thoughts. If you go to a landfill and this happens, you would be like, whatever, I don't care, right? This small piece of paper is this misaligned button, this weird copy, this broken flow, things that oftentimes designers are even mocked for, maybe? Like, oh, the designer, oh yeah, 3 pixels, who would notice, right? Well, 3 here, 4 there, 10 there, a weird copy, this link doesn't work, is what will quickly erode your product and will quickly make your customers lose trust in your product because they will think nobody cares. It's like this building that we were talking at the beginning. So it signals that quality is not a priority, and that's the main issue with it. I think the tricky part is that quality is not easy to measure. And the reason is because it's partially rational, partially intuitive. We tried many times to come up with quality metrics. It's very, very complicated. I really like this sentence from Kari Saarinen from Linear, who said, craft is the activity you put into something, and quality is the output someone feels out of that product. And here's the key word, someone feels. So the moment that there are feelings involved, things start getting messy, and they are hard to measure, they are hard to prioritize, and I think it takes the entire team and the shared sense of responsibility to get those prioritized. Because again, quality is not design's job. I think having this mindset is the quickest way to ship mediocrity to production. And it's only when everyone agrees that we can raise the bar together and make it a priority to the teams. And I will close with a sentence from Bruno Munari that I really like. He said, beauty is the consequence of what's right. Il bello è la conseguenza del giusto, right? And in a very egocentric outburst, I just placed my face next to Bruno Munari, and I would like to extend it to quality is the consequence of what is right, yes? When we design solutions that innovate while addressing real needs, things that are accessible, that are reliable, and that are crafted with care, beauty, innovation, and quality will naturally follow. Thank you.